Hey guys, I'm introducing Kevin Nealon, one of my all-time favorites. I won't be doing it with Dana. He's in traffic, and so I hurry and rushed and did it by myself because then I get to be me. Sometimes when I send an email, I put subject me. Sometimes I don't. You know, it's going to be a struggle without Dana. You're going to have to strug through, folks. Strug it up. Kevin Nealon. By the way, Kevin Nealon has a book out. You know, Kevin, he does caricatures, is that fair to say? Cartoons. He's great at it. I don't know if he's done the Spade Man, but he's done a bunch, and I see him on his Instagram. But the book is called I Exaggerate My Brushes with Fame. Classic Kevin Nealon. Very clever title. He paints or something, you know, in the brush. Do you get it? Oh my God, I'm not going to walk you through all of them. Okay. By the way, I saw Miles Teller the other night. I was at a undisclosed Hollywood hotspot. And I said, if you ever host SNL, you should have them all lined up in the monologue, the whole cast, and just name them all. Sponge bath, popcorn, camel toe. Who'd fucking kill? If you want to kill. You want to bomb? Do something else. And then you could add this noise when the plane flies over. If you want. Call that, I'll call it in. Anyway, Kevin is great with his jokes because you know what he does? He doesn't put any spin on them. He puts nothing. And I loved it because I used to do stand-up. When I started, I was at the Improv, and it's his name on the chalkboard. I always say this. But it was like Paul Reiser, Jay Leno, Jerry Seinfeld, Jeff Altman, like all these great comics. And I got to bring them up. They made me be an MC for a while. So I'd have to go and go, what do you want me to say about you? And I go, just say I've been on Merv Griffin, Carson, and, you know, Mike Douglas. These are old shows. And I'd go, okay, whatever they are. Open for Joanne Worley and Phyllis Dill. You know, it was like back in the day. So, but Nealon was always one of the ones I'd watch. And I go, God, he does not put any spin on it. Driest stuff. The most throwaway jokes. And I was sort of patterning after that. Like I was sort of a research paper of Dennis Miller and all the comics I like. And then I kind of went into my own thing. But at the beginning, you have to like people. And, you know, but I also like Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy. So, you know, you just never know. But Kevin is great. He was great to talk to as advertised. I was repeating a bunch of his jokes to him, which I always do. And I think you'll like it. Here he is, Kevin Nealon. I have a question for you, but I gotta wait for Dana, they said. Okay, they're all dumb though.
How's it been going?
Oh, this is going through the roof, buddy.
Awesome, man.
I think. I don't know.
Hey, I love your red, it's an audio podcast. Sorry. Well,
I've been losing more stuff on the road. You know, like I leave it on airplane pockets and stuff. I had like the little ones, but they're kind of gone now, along with my Apple Pencil, my iPad pencil.
You know, I was on a flight this week, and in the seat back in front of me, it said, this whole, you know, placket about the safety briefing has been scrubbed down with antibacterial stuff. It's stamped on it. I go, I don't believe it. I was skeptical.
Yeah.
Because they never even touched it after that. And I was like, I touched it.
I don't believe the life preservers work either, you know, or the oxygen masks.
Well, I have such a terrible fear of flying. When they come around and we get to a comfortable cruising altitude and they go, well, would you like a beverage? So inside I'm screaming for a beer because my pulse is like 160.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I don't know. What do you got? I'll have grapefruit juice. No, I guess I'll have a Heineken.
Oh, you dance around it a little bit?
Well, my wife, she has no fear of flying. So she orders coffee and a Heineken. And then I order a Heineken. And then I have two. And then I put them on her tray. And I kind of shrug to the flight attendant like, I don't know. She's got an issue.
You beat the system.
One time I was joking around.
I'm on the ground. I don't drink. Yeah, go ahead.
One time I was joking around with a flight attendant. It was like a 7 a.m. flight. She goes, can I get you something to drink? I said, yeah, I'll have a scotch on the rocks. And it was like ordering orange juice. He goes, okay, I thought on the rocks. Okay, would you like something, sir? You know, because a lot of people drink when they're flying.
Because of fear in flying. This famous actress flew next to me once. Ha! Guess who?
Is this Sophia Loren?
No, it predates her. But anyway, this actress was really cool because they came around with these vodka lemon drinks on this flight. And she goes, I'll do it twice as opposed to give me 2 of them. And she kept saying, I'm going to sleep later, so I'll do it twice. So that's what I say to my wife. Ladies and gentlemen, the comedy never. Why is anyone...
Listen, Dana, my airplane bits, I think I did on my first Tonight Show. Airplane bits are a real staple of comedians, I feel. And I think we all have some. And I remember the one that I can't do anymore, because it's old, even though Seinfeld said you should still do old jokes. But I said, when you're in first class and then you're in coach and you're a loser in coach, so the lady will walk out of first class and look at you. Then she looks back and shuts the little curtain so you can't even see the people in first class. She's like, it's a good sound too. And then she snaps it shut, and then she comes back later with a tire gun and goes, Bram, Bram. I go, I'm not looking. I'm not.
I remember this one. I like the effects.
I know what that curtain close looks like from first class, but not from coach.
Oh, you look back and you go, can you get one more snap?
You know who was on my flight 2 weeks ago? John Hamm.
Oh.
John Hamm.
I didn't say anything to him because I didn't want to have to walk back to coach. You know what I mean?
So rude.
What? Can I do my impression of John Hamm?
Yeah.
I don't even know you.
What's that from? Bridesmaids?
I can't. I don't even know you. It's him on. It's someone asking him a favor on Mad Men. I don't even.
Oh,
know
I see it.
So I can't hear myself.
Dana, I've seen memes where, because I'm representing the younger generation here. I've seen memes where, because I'm tragically still on Instagram, but they show John Hamm in an elevator or something, and someone says something to him, and then they put a picture of John Hamm going, "I don't even know you." So it must be a famous line from the show.
It also makes you do the impression. Kevin, what's your famous for you airplane bit? Do you have one?
Oh, yeah. It's I was flying the other day, and I think the pilot was a little inexperienced.
It's already fun.
I like this.
We were getting ready to take off. He goes, folks, we'll be taking off in a few minutes. Whoa, here we go.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love that he's a little inexperienced. So I was kind of nervous.
And then we were up in the air for like 20 minutes, and he comes back on the PA and goes, folks, I can't seem to figure out where. Oh, never mind, I got it.
Oh, here's a good one. We land. I go, why are you allowed to land anywhere near the actual airport? We're taxiing around and going. I'm like, hey, I saw some lights over there. Oh, we're going this way. And then I go, all right. And then we got to the gate, and we're not even allowed to park at the gate. And then we start following this pilot. He's walking to a plane because I see him holding his keys, but then he's just getting something out his plane, so we can't park there. It's sort of. I think that was it. It was better. I guess.
I was in an emergency landing once, and
I've had many of them.
I discovered that the overhead luggage compartments are not emergency exits.
You just call up there. I did one that we'll probably have to cut this out, but I was playing Spellbinders in Houston in the 80s. I didn't go on the road that much, but Bill Hicks, who's a famous comedian who passed away, was my opener. So he would dare me to do a hacky opening. So I don't know if it was my joke, and I couldn't do it today. It'll be canceled. But it was like I'd go up and I'd go, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I flew here on Mexicana Airlines. It was a great airline. The pilot had dice hanging in the cockpit. And he just thought that was the greatest thing ever. That guy would go on stage with a sport coat for like 20 minutes. He had a big sport coat on. He's doing all his jokes. And then he would reach in and pull out an ice cold Budweiser beer. He kept it in his jacket like a magician for for that one joke. Anyway, And
One time he tried to drink a Dove. He pulled out by mistake.
Oh, I had that with what was he? The Great Scott at Comedy Magic Club. The birds, he'd get them and they come out of his jacket. You know where they were coming from. And he
right.
went out and it was dead. It was like,
I thought they were made of paper.
That's your showstopper, ladies
Some
and
are
gentlemen.
rubber.
Hey, no, but Kevin, you'll like this story, I think, because we're comedians. But I was telling somebody last night that one of my buddies was a waiter at the Dallas Improv. Remember the Dallas Improv? I loved the old one in Dallas off Central and Walnut, I think. And it was right next to Kroger's. And so a comedian came in and he was there in the day, but setting up. And the comedian, the headliner, it's kind of jerky. I don't even know who it was for real. But he came in, he starts bossing everyone around, getting the keys to the condo and, asking him this and that and sort of being pushy. So the waiters realized they didn't like him. And then he came back in for the show and he goes to my buddy, hey, come here. And he goes, because this is some people that listen to this know comedy, you have to adapt to a city. So he goes, what's the big store around here? Is it Alpha Beta? He goes, no, it's Kroger's. That's the one around the corner. He goes, yeah, okay. And you guys have a Circle K? He goes, no, we have 7-Eleven. He goes, yeah, okay. He's working his act out. Then he goes, and what's this big, huge street right in front of here with all the traffic? He goes, oh, that's Apollo Boulevard, which was a lie. And so the guy gets up and he starts killing. And then he goes, and that was crazy. I couldn't even get here because of Apollo Boulevard. He just comes to a complete screeching halt. And then he goes, Apollo over here. And someone goes, Central Expressway. He goes, no, Apollo. And he's arguing with him. And then he just keeps digging a deeper hole. And he comes to my friend later. He's like, you fucking dick. And he's like, he goes, oh yeah, you know what? I said it wrong. That is Central Expressway.
Mike Myers and I were playing Green Bay, Wisconsin, I think. So we can't, they said, oh, they love it if you say cheeseheads. So we went up there. I don't know if we're doing Wayne Garth or whatever. Like, cheeseheads. I swear there was almost a riot. That is like a slur. That is cheese. And we kept doing it. Mike was like, I don't know what's going on, man. Anyway, we should introduce our guest today, Kevin Nealon.
Kevin Nealon.
Saturday Night Live All-Star, Weeds. How many times he's been on The Tonight Show? Letterman. How many specials? Three stand-up specials? 4?
Two,
but working on a third.
2, but all good material.
Yeah.
I didn't space it out like a lot of comics.
Seinfeld says every comedian, even the good ones, have about an hour 20 of good material. Even if they do 10 specials, he goes,
you're quoting Seinfeld a lot.
I know that's, you know what? That's the only second time. That's it. But
he's the Pope
because there's more to come.
Yeah, that's
he
every
has
quarter.
The rules of how you're supposed to do stand up. You can obey them or not, but he has definite rules of how.
What does Seinfeld say about Jesus?
He does.
Jesus, I don't do religion. Then half the people hate you.
I think this is a big compliment, Kevin. Some of the top comedians will talk and say Kevin is one of the tallest comedians. That has to mean something to you.
It's really a compliment, because there's rumors out there that I'm not that tall. So when somebody validates that for me, it really, and it's weird too, because I have a fear of heights. So every day I live in fear,
Kevin, I was saying the other day that if you're ever around a vulture, don't play dead because that's what they want.
That's right.
That's right.
It's one of Nealon's old bits. Not even a bit.
Really?
It's more of a line. Yeah, that's yours.
I didn't know that was mine.
Oh, for real? It's funny.
Yeah.
Let's go back and say, before we get to SNL, when Kevin Nealon, I used to watch, and when I started and I was at the Improv, which was a big deal. I was doing hosting, which is a hard job. And I would host and have to bring every comic up from 8 to 1 a.m. And I'd end in the hallway and I go, what do you want me to say about you? And so I'd kind of know comics, acquaintances, because they'd say, oh, you're the MC, blah, blah, blah. But Nealon was on the chalkboard. Carvey wasn't there as much, but I was pretty influenced by a little peppering of Nealon, a little Carvey, a little Dennis Miller. And when you're starting out, you start to see all these great comics right in front of you. You don't have to wait a week or 3 to see them on Carson or something. So I got influenced, but you guys were all great. And then And then something happened. Remember, Nealon, when I got kicked out of John Mulrooney's place because his roommate, who actually passed away, God, that comic was great. And then you said, oh, why don't you rent my room while you got SNL. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah. You rented my room?
And Alciona.
On Alciona.
Yeah, so it was me, you, Bob Duback, Dana above the garage, and Joe,
my wife and
the
I,
writer.
Joe Kenny.
Joe Kenny.
We lived above the garage. It was like a little mini compound, not fancy at all. I got hassled by the postal service there. That's a whole nother story. But my wife and I were saving her salary, which was $29,000 a year, working for a state assemblyman, so we could save up and buy a house. So it was $300 a month, and it was just a room with a sink. We had a hot plate. I come up back after a gig and just watch TV with headphones on, and she would sleep. And Kevin was rented it to us, or Kevin invited us to live there.
But Bob was like the ringleader of the place. I was just a renter. I had that little bedroom on the end there. But I went back there about a year ago with my wife and son to just see what it looked like. And the owners were there, and they had filled in the driveway with a yard and a swing set.
What?
And a little wall that goes across the front. You could park a little bit in there, but it doesn't have that big parking lot.
Yeah, there's a big
I told him we used to live there. And in fact, the guy's wife, Dana, did your costume for the commercial you guys did, or wardrobe for the
Wayne and Garth
for the Wayne and Garth for the Super Bowl commercial.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. So she knew you. But they gave me a tour of the place. I went inside, and they had changed it around a little bit. I saw where your apartment was, which is their office now. And there's like a downstairs. Nobody lives downstairs. They have a staircase in the living room that goes down to the lower apartment.
Wait, it was all one story, right? Like your bedroom was close to Alciona.
There was a couple that lived downstairs with their baby.
Downstairs? I don't even remember that. I don't think I was allowed. Noises. No, I wasn't allowed but Nealon was very nice because when he come back I had just done like Police Academy. I was pretty new. And when you guys would come home, that was really exciting because you had war stories and you would say hi to me. And Nealon, you would stay on the couch. You wouldn't even kick me out of the room because you thought that was unfair.
Why don't I remember any of this stuff?
I know, because I was forgettable, and I've been told that by my parents, especially my dad.
But I do remember that when you got on SNL, I lost my subletter, so you really kind of screwed me over there.
Oh yeah, that is true. And I had to
tell the story.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, but we're all three interacted in this mid '80s thing, and we all eventually ended up on SNL. But when I met David, I never had been on SNL. When I met Kevin, he'd never been on SNL. I got on SNL by a long story for another time. But then freakily, they had one last slot they were trying to cast in New York. And this is true. It sounds funny at the time, but they mentioned Chevy or somehow, I don't know if they were serious, but somebody tall or something. So I said, well, I know someone tall. And then through whatever machinations, Bruce and Gray or whatever, Kevin came out to the studio. And I think, so now Kevin's auditioning, but the show had been cast. But I think we were in 8H. And didn't you just sort of stand near us? Near like 8 or 10 people do stand up? Or
yeah,
where were you?
It wasn't a typical audition, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went there and I immediately got tired when I walked into that studio because I used to fall asleep watching that show, and it was an association thing,
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
So Dana and I used to do characters at our house on Alciona Drive in the Hollywood Hills. We would stand out in the driveway and just kind of riff on different, like a couple of different characters. And I didn't do any characters or accents or impressions. I was just a stand-up, a really good stand-up.
Yes,
it's true. I'll show you. You'll see.
Oh no, I want to make I'd like to make an observation. The thing about your style of stand-up, which really lent itself to this high-pressure situation, was you never know when you've started. Like you're suddenly kind of talking and there's no presentation or like, now here's my joke. You're just like doing that sly kind of, you always gotta keep pace with life, whatever. And then, so you essentially killed, but go ahead.
So so I go to Studio NH, and typically they have you on the center stage, I guess, and you have to do like 3 characters and 3 accents or something. I don't know what it is, but there wasn't that demand when I went there. And I just I did the characters we worked on, I think it was a couple of Sammys, and it was like the 2 guys, the 2 porn stars talking about very casual stuff.
Were some of them a little undercooked?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, they never got fully baked. They were very undercooked.
They're just like, here's a wispy idea that I'm fucking just throwing shit out to hope something
That's what I was doing.
Yeah,
that's what I was doing. And
they look for a nugget of a thought. I think Downing, those guys, and Lauren, they go, I like that weird idea, even if it's undercooked and it's not quite fully formed and written out well. We got great writers here. You give us that idea, we throw it on the table. I bet we could come up with something. So that's what I learned they like. But go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
My memories tells me that I was standing at the end of the bleachers or something, and I was on the floor, and everybody like Dennis Miller, you, John Lovitz, Nora Dunn, Lauren,
Phil,
Marcy, Phil. Oh, I don't know if Phil was there, but anyway, you guys were all on the bleachers watching me, and I did my thing. It was very short, and then I left.
You know what's funny? Oh yeah, his act is so dry that it's almost. I think I took a page out of that, because if it doesn't work, you're almost like it wasn't supposed to work. I'm just talking. I was just talking, and now I'm leaving.
I'm out there screaming, desperate, trying to get laughs. And if I swing and a miss, it's over. But Kevin, I want to know the timeline from when you first heard in California, hey, they might be interested in SNL. Can you fly to New York? You do your thing. Is that like a week later, and then do you find out the next day, or how soon after?
It was
very
quick. It was very quick. I remember that. It was like a weekend. Like on Friday, I think they told me I have it. I'm coming to New York. I didn't have a chance really to tell my friends that I was on SNL. I just packed up. I got Spade to rent my room, and I went to New York.
Did you stay at the Omni Berkshire?
I think so, or the Essex House. I don't even remember, I didn't even know New York that well. And Al Franken said, you got to find a good neighborhood to live in. And I think, isn't New York a neighborhood? I didn't know there were separate neighborhoods. You got to find a place that's close to a subway and something with the grocery stores, like the Upper West Side or whatever.
Yeah.
So Dana and I actually, after a couple of years in, we lived in the same apartment building on Broadway.
At the Bromley?
Yeah.
Bromley is very, very nice. I
think Mikey Myers stayed at the Bromley, and then Farley moved into the Bromley.
Huh. Well, there was a movie theater right underneath it, which was kind of cool. And it was close to the park, and it wasn't too expensive.
Across from Zabar's and H&H Bagels, not far away.
Yeah. And
everyone lived Upper West that I knew. Andy and Katie, my relatives, lived up there. And then slowly... I'm not jumping ahead, but slowly people trickled to the village, and I didn't, because I only knew my little haunts. And by the time it was over, I didn't know anybody up there, because you guys.
Yeah, I moved to the West Village, and it was a beautiful federal style home, I think they call it, like a brownstone. And we had the top 2 floors. Dana, did you ever come over there?
I don't think so. It
had 4 fireplaces, high ceilings, and it was just really cool. And it's right next to the meat market district, which is now like the hip place. But back then it was really the meat market. And at night when I come home from SNL, I'd see these like rave clubs where there'd be these transgenders out front, waiting to go in, like 3 a.m. And, but now it's like totally gentrified, and it's beautiful.
So then maybe a week or 2 later, you're premiering on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah. Well, are you at the beginning of a season, or are you at the?
I'm at the beginning of 86. That fall.
The first show. Yeah.
The first host. It was Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, good.
Yes. Sigourney Weaver.
I remember at the end of that week when she was saying the good nights, I was so jealous because she got to go. she got to leave, and I had to kind of like, she was like a prisoner getting released. And I had to stay.
Just because of how did you handle the nerves? Because
It was so intense.
Yeah, it's just crazy, right?
Well, you know what I pretended? Because the year before that, the ratings were so low and they almost pulled the plug. In fact, we all lived out of our suitcases every day. We didn't know if the show was going to get canceled. So that's what I kept in mind. I thought, nobody's watching this show. Otherwise, my nerves would have killed me. And I thought, I'm used to playing in front of 300 people, which is about how many are in that studio. And then I remember I was still nervous, though. And we're away from a commercial. And my first sketch was Mr. Subliminal, which is kind of like two conversations at once,
Oh, wow. That was on the first show you got to do that?
Yeah. So 10 seconds before the sketch is supposed to start, we're away at a commercial and we're coming back from the commercial. Lauren comes up to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says to me, "Are you sure this is what you want?"
What?
That's his way to relax you, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he would say those funny things. So give us 10 seconds of Mr. Subliminal so people know what we're talking about.
Well, Mr. Subliminal is the guy who kind of inserts these words into a sentence to get what he wants. Like if I go to a deli or something, I say, I think I'll have the corned beef sandwich, your treat. Now, maybe, why don't you throw in a Diet Coke too, whiskey, and that'll be good for me,
So he manipulates his way through life with subliminal messages.
Yeah.
And his name is Mr. Subliminal. Yeah, I love it.
First show, you got a good one on.
Yeah, I got a good one, and I started getting recognized right away.
That's the funnest part. I mean, it takes a while to get famous, and then you just stay famous. But it takes longer. Back then, SNL, there was probably SNL and maybe HBO. There wasn't a ton of choices. I mean, there was 3 networks or 4 networks maybe.
And cable was very new.
Cable's new, yeah.
So it wasn't so overriding, and you would get recognized. There was a water cooler effect to it, and Kevin and we had a small cast, so everyone got involved pretty quickly. You're on 2 or 3 things a show.
Was Jan that year? You met Jan on the show? I love Jan Hooks. She was
Jan
so
Hooks
fucking
and
funny.
Phil Hartman and Kevin and I came in, and then Lovitz and Dennis, Nora Dunn, and Whitney Brown were there.
Wait,
I think
so
that was
David,
it.
you hadn't
And then
started
Victoria
yet?
Jackson.
So you were
Kevin and I. My first show was Kevin's first show. I was living with Lauren in Long Island, but then I got a place in Manhattan, and my first show was Kevin's first show. But I've been there since August, hanging out.
I was about to say, you actually had some influence. You haven't even started yet.
I was with Lauren for a month. I didn't know he used to come out, and initially it was just me. I was the only one out there, and then Chevy
How
Chase.
scary that you would go stay with Lauren and see McCartney and these guys.
McCartney, hanging out every night with McCartney. We all got to know
Paul McCartney?
Well, Lauren does one of it. He knows there's Paul Simon and Paul McCartney. So he said, Paul's coming over tonight. And you have to ask Paul who. That would be McCartney. And I'd never even been on
Paul
television.
Dean. Yeah.
One time we were all having lunch.
Stone.
We were all having lunch. I think it was Central Cafe in New York. It was me, Steve Martin, Lauren, and maybe Billy Joel was there too. And Steve was talking about Cher. Lauren was talking about Cher. And Steve piped in. He goes, "Cher who?"
Steve for having those big jokes like in his old albums, which I used to memorize, and those crazy things. He would also say the driest shit like that too. It's so funny.
Oh,
yeah. But that was Lauren. Everybody does impressions of Lauren too, every cast member would do
So great
through the generations. But the other thing about us being on when it was a small cast, and then it started getting bigger and bigger. Like our introductions only lasted maybe 2 minutes. And now if you watch it, there's 50 people on the show. Even
one sketch
featuring so-and-so, and then somebody who might be on, he's standing by, we'll see, so-and-so.
And a contest winner.
Yeah.
I think Kevin and I were on the last small cast show, and then it grew with Mike Myers and then David and Adam and everybody else. But initially, I think it was just 6 of it. I was kind of 3 or 4.
Well, what happened was we kind of ran out of tricks, and Lauren kind of saw the writing on the wall. He goes, we got to get some more energy in here, some more people with some ideas.
It was like COVID that was expanding, and we were like the Delta coming in. It was just getting bigger and bigger.
I came in hard and fast with the lady, but I had the benefit of having Phil and the lady and Phil and Jan were on it, and the host would be on it. Sean Penn beat me up and stuff. But the only time it was very conscious with Kevin and I doing a tour with Dennis was our eventual Hans and Franz characters.
That's great. You did the Swatch tour.
That's right.
Yes.
It's the Swatch tour.
I was so jealous. I heard you guys were making $6,000 a night. I was shitting. I was like, no fucking way.
It was $5,000 a night. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, I feel better. But
yeah.
So I went and saw it in Arizona, and it was like so huge for comedians. There were like 3 great comedians are coming to town. It was unreal. And you don't have to do that long. I probably do a half each or something.
I remember we were in Denver. It was our last, I think, stop on the tour. And John Travolta came with some mutual friends of mine. Yeah. And he offered us all a ride back to LA. He was piloting his jet.
Whoa.
And I jumped on it. I said, yeah, I'll go. But you and Dennis, Dana, were fearful flyers. So you said no.
I was a huge Welcome Back Kotter fan, but I couldn't imagine that guy steering. But I've been tapped out. I've been tapped out a few times in my life. Impressionists get tapped out. So I was doing Travolta that night, a really silly, stupid bit, whatever, all these guys like this and that. And the crowd starting to roar. Obviously, he's sneaking up behind me. And I'm really, because, I can't.
Oh, my God.
And then he taps me on the shoulder. And then he says, I think it's the sincerest form of flattery.
Oh, how
but
great.
I tell people, because they always ask, who was the best this, and this? I would say Travolta was the most accessible, real superstar I've ever met. Like instantly liking him, and he was just very affable. Didn't you find, Kevin? I mean, it's just no sense he was a superstar at all. Nothing. He's
he just loves being in the business and acting. And when he was hosting that week, he really befriended Jan and gave her a nice long leather brown jacket for her birthday. And one night we all went over to Jan's apartment. It was me and Johnny and our mutual friends, Linda and Anson.
Johnny.
And we get to Jan's apartment, and we were each doing our impression of his character from Grease, like that one scene where he leans against the wall. He leans against the wall and turns around with a cigarette in his mouth.
Yeah.
Hilarious. We were all doing that impression, and then John went last, and he nailed it. I mean, he won the competition.
How fucking cool.
Yeah.
He was the best at doing it. That's amazing.
Yeah, crazy. He must have been practicing, but that's what he's like. He'll do that stuff.
I was only on the show a little bit when I met him, and about 3 years later, I was at Sushi 101 on Beverly, and I was eating, and he came in with a hat and he's ordering to-go stuff. And I'm like, this motherfucker looked like John Travolta. And then he turns around and looks, and then he keeps ordering, gets his bag, and turns on and he goes, hey, it's John. What's up? Remember me? I was on SNL with you. I go, I remember you. Yeah. I saw Grease 45 times.
Yeah.
And then Saturday Night Fever. And right around the same time, bam, bam.
Urban Cowboy.
Monster. Urban Cowboy.
That same week he was hosting, we all went to the Palms restaurant on the Lower East Side, and we're walking.
Jeez, give him some breathing room. Go ahead.
You're stalking him.
That was his idea. It was his idea. We were walking up 3rd Avenue, and this was like in 1994 or 95, way after Welcome Back, Kotter. And there's this homeless guy sitting on the sidewalk, and he's looking down. And as we're approaching, he goes, hey, you guys got any spare? And he looks up and he sees Travolta. He goes, hey, Vinny Paparino. That was the last time that guy probably watched TV.
Dude, how funny was that fucking Tarantino's Welcome Back, Kotter? How funny was that sketch? That was a great one.
Well, Kevin, you remember that John Travolta came to Saturday Night Live just to be a fly on the wall, to hang out and learn the show. And that's when I met him. And then he hosted later, but I think I'd left by then. So I missed that part. But yeah, he just was hanging
I
out.
missed the one where, the Tarantino one?
Yeah.
Where it was, oh my God, I got to be Horseshack. Mr. Cotto.
You know who I missed by a couple of seconds was when George Harrison came and stopped by the writers' room.
Oh no! Wow.
Yeah, he came in.
Is that when he played the piano?
Yeah, he was playing the piano. It was next to Al Franken's office, and Al Franken didn't know it was George Harrison, and he was yelling from his office, "Keep it quiet! I'm trying to write."
That's so poor Al. I'm just trying to write a song,
George left.
for Paul.
Shut up! Then he flipped and the writers remember he flipped the table. He's mad and he smashed his toe. Oh, he might have been gone.
He was Al is like stocky, and he was a wrestler.
Not George Harrison.
One night, him and Farley. Sorry, I was spaced out. Him and Farley went at it like hardcore, fighting each other.
To wrestle, yeah.
But for playful fun. But it was intense. Those two guys.
Yeah, Franken was always
super competitive.
Franken was always kind of exploring. He wanted to be a part of your history. Like I was a football player, so he wanted to play football. We played basketball. He wanted to wrestle with Farley. That was the thing about Farley, too. Farley was really, even as heavy as he was so light on his feet. And he was a good basketball player and really coordinated. You saw him skating in the rink,
Well, that's what made
shockingly
him so funny.
Light on his feet, yeah. That Nancy Kerrigan sketch, I don't know if you guys remember that one, was the whole show wasn't that great, but he was doing the ice skating one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. Wisconsin
Well, look at him on the down by the river thing. Just anyway.
Hey, Dana, who was your biggest idol on that show that you got to meet?
I'll
tell you who it was.
Okay.
It was Neil Young.
I had to be Neil Young, but Paul McCartney I met before the show, so it doesn't really count in real life.
Right.
But meeting Neil Young was quite a thrill. And one night, I don't know if you were there, Kevin. We went out to dinner with 6 or 8 people with Neil, and I was with Phil, and I said, Phil, let's make Neil Young helpless with laughter. Let's see if we can really get him. So we're doing every shtick we can, every accent, just going crazy just to get him helpless, and we did, just to pay him back. Fun story, right, kids?
That is good. That is good. I like that.
You meet people when you're on Saturday Night Live, you just meet famous people doing sketch comedy. So they're especially vulnerable and they're looking to you for advice after the first couple seasons. It's interesting, isn't it? Do you ever help people out?
I find that anybody who's ever hosted, no matter how long ago it was, they're still your best buddy because they latch onto you because they're so scared on that show. They latch onto you and they're friends forever.
Yes. Yeah, you skip a few levels of casual friendship and you get in there because you're in the trenches so fast and you're explaining cue cards or you're saying this or you're telling when to get, if you start crying on Friday night, that's normal. Don't freak out. Because it's so overwhelming to go, we haven't even rehearsed half this shit and it's tomorrow. And I don't even know what's going on. And they start, my clothes are made of Velcro.
Yeah.
Remember Robert Mitchum?
Robert
Mitchum came in, the famous movie star. Yeah. And he had a gigantic thing of Jack Daniels in his room, but he was incredible on the show. Just you meet so many eclectic people.
I remember he stopped one of the sketches right in the middle during the table read, and he was explaining what hoodlums, where that word came from, and it broke the whole pacing of the sketch.
Oh yeah.
Hey Nealon, were you a bartender? Were you a bartender in the Improv?
Yeah, no? I worked as a bartender for 2 years at the Improv. I was 25, 26.
At the Improv on Melrose?
Yeah. And then Eddie, who's the bartender now, took over for me. And that was
really?
30 years ago. He's still bartending. People love him.
I told Eddie, I said, you're like a friend to me. So you know what? I'm just going to order all my drinks and then I'll tip you at the end. But I meant the end when he quits.
When he dies.
Yeah. So I said at
There
the
you
very,
go.
very end.
He can't quit now.
I saw online, Nealon was a bartender, and they said, here's a trivia question. What was Kevin's joke about bartending? And so I tried to guess. And they wrote a joke kind of to sound like you. And used the real answer, which is probably a lie, was I just try to put as much alcohol in as possible. And the other answers were I just try to get the color right of the drink. And the other one was kind of funny. He said, I just tell them to tip me up front. That sounds like a joke. I guess that one. That sounds like a joke you'd say.
Which one was it, Kevin?
Well, the truth is, I mean, it wasn't even a joke. It's just that I never bartended before, so I didn't know how to make drinks. I had the bartender guide below the bar. If somebody ordered like a 707, I'd flip through the pages and find out how to make it. But I had that college mentality where I thought the more alcohol in the drink, the better they'll like it. So often people would come back with their drink and say, could you put a little more club soda in here? I said, really, this is too strong. I said, okay, all right. I'm just trying to help you out.
Kevin, I have another thing. Is this your joke? You know, I always know your jokes. But when you say...
You remember my jokes from the 80s. When you
I
used
remember
to
your jokes. And I swear I've seen a million comics. I don't know why yours I remember. But they're all funny. But when you say you had a lobster, you were cooking a lobster, and then you went to cook it, and you said, tell me if I get this right. You go, I went to put it in the pot, but then I looked at it, a little face. I go, you know what? This is an animal, and it does not deserve to die. So you know what I did? I got my car, I took it out to the woods, and let it go. Because you got to do the right thing sometimes.
Because you got to do the right
joke.
That's Kevin.
That's a good paraphrase of it. Yeah. I always thought it'd be funny to have a show where the comic's girlfriend or wife does their act. And they don't get it quite right, but they kind of paraphrase it, you know?
All my friends go, I could do your act. I go, it's so intricate and complicated. I dare you. And then they do it exactly. I go, oh.
Well, the trajectory, the evolution of the wife/girlfriend is initially she's kind of pretty much in the front row watching your act. Then she's midway back. Then she's standing in the back. Then she's in the green. Then she's in the green room during your act. And then she'll meet you after. And finally, she's just at home where you've been.
She stays home. Yeah. Going, how was it?
Did you guys like going to the after parties on Saturday Night Live?
God, you're so wired. I was never really in it enough to be wired, but I would get energy from doing the good nights and waving good night. So, and then they'd do you remember this? Marcy was always scared because too many people would figure out the party. So you'd get
Marcy
a little
Klein
ticket.
was Lauren's assistant.
Yeah. You get a ticket. She'd walk by and hand you a ticket like right before air or something. Like that's what you were thinking about, but I was. And then they go, hey, the party's going to be here. It's going to be here. It's me. And so you'd have this. And then after the show, you'd get a limo. That guy Max would be out there and go, Spade, you want to go with Farley? You want to go with Timmy Meadows? And they'd try to double us up because we weren't the big stars. But you guys would get your own limo. And they'd get you to the party. And then they would get you home. And then the party was always so late. I think it's a big status thing now, but man, to wait, if you're not on the show, to sit there and wait till 1 to go to the party, which is more like 1:30, that's a late night.
I would opt not to go to the after party because I was so exhausted from the show, and I wanted to be able to get up in the morning on Sunday and enjoy my one day off. But I always had guests coming in that they wanted to go to the after party.
Oh, they have to. Yeah, that's the whole
thing. It's not even really a party. It's just everybody's at the same restaurant. You get your own table. You get your own bill.
Food, yeah.
You know,
you get a bill.
Yeah, you pay for all your guests and your friends. And and then, you know, everyone's at their own table and there's just a lot of gawkers.
And you'd walk around and the host would like to say hello to you. But Kevin, I don't know if I'm right about this, but the show was so in the doldrums when we got on. Cars were not provided to go to the party. So you, me, and Dennis would be out. It'd be like snowing, and we'd be trying to get a cab to go to the party. I don't know when cars came in, but we did not have cars, at least in those first few shows.
I love it.
We only had an 8-show pickup. Dynamite told us we had 8 shows. So if we don't hit the ground running, we're out here by Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, we were living out of our cars. And we even shared an office together, you and me.
Kevin and I shared an office that was very humble, very small, and we would sit in there for hours trying to riff, especially when Hans and Franz came. We would go, and really, we got so silly. I mean, you're so tired and stressed out. Sometimes I'd put on music on a boombox, and you, me, Victoria, and Dennis would just dance around in there, right? Just because of the stress.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I remember like Sandler and Farley and you too, Spade. Didn't you guys have an office on the other side by the writer's room next to Chris Rock's?
We had Herb Sargent's old Update office. So it was like that corner.
Yeah, it was like a frat house in there. I'd go in there, there'd be like Playboy magazines everywhere, pizza boxes on the floor. And then you go into Rock's office and it was like pristine. He had like Malcolm X posters, Martin Luther King, all kinds of African-American culture books on this, and just spotless.
We're just all idiots because Farley would wipe his butt with the USA Today. One time I was going to the rap party and they said, and they go, hey, and then I see Norm on Monday. I think you guys overlap with Norm. And I go, Norm, I didn't see you at the party. He goes, no. I go, well, I saw you get in a limo. I went to Atlantic City. Why? To gamble. Like I'm the asshole. To gamble. I go, oh, well, sorry. I don't know. I thought those are for the party. The poor limo driver's going, keep going straight, sir. We're about 30 minutes away from the party. I think it's at Ollie's.
Every week he'd surprise the limo driver. Atlantic City.
I know. The guy goes, oh, fuck, I get Norm. I'm going to be back tomorrow.
Lovitz was telling me a story where, or somebody was telling me about how Lovitz loaned Norm a couple $100, like $200 to gamble. Mm-hmm. And the next day, Norm didn't pay him back. And they were touring somewhere together. And then the next day he asked him again. He goes, Norm, you got the $200? And he kept asking him. And then after a week, after he asked him, Norm goes, you only lost $200. I lost $5,000. What are you complaining about?
It was $8,000. Why are you writing me for? I lost like $8,000.
You only lost $200.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be.
Yeah. Yeah, but
go ahead.
But, I was there for 9 years, so I worked with a lot of different people. I saw, Spade came in and then Mike Myers, Farley, Tim Meadows, everybody. I mean, it was, and then we got a lot of those wild cards, like Michael McKean and Chris Elliott, and Janine Garofalo and Sarah Silverman,
McKinney.
Matt Stiller, Mark McKinney. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Ben Stiller, who lived in the Bromley as well during that time.
He did?
Yeah.
Fucking Bromley.
And he got let go from the show, and I was doing very well in the show, and I'd run into him in the elevator. I go, how are you okay? And he was, went on. The guys who get fired or don't get hired for the show seem to do extremely well. Jim Carrey, Ben Stiller.
Jim Carrey was on the show?
No, but he didn't get hired.
He auditioned.
Right. He auditioned with us,
We should have Jim on just to talk about how he didn't get it.
That audition, he destroyed. I mean, I
think most people got fired from that show.
Yeah, I didn't know Farley and Sandler got fired.
Yeah, I mean, the year I left, Sandler and was it Farley both got fired?
Yeah, I didn't even know that for fucking 20 years because they were both doing so well. I didn't know that there was any friction. I don't think there was. I think
the idea is that they wanted to come back and were told no.
That's so weird. It's so weird. They're both huge stars.
And I was kind of forced out of there too. There wasn't much future for me in there.
Were you bum rushed out?
I knew that was my last year that they'd have me. But luckily I got a sitcom with DreamWorks with Spielberg. So I had something to go to after that.
It was called...
What was
something
it called?
Hiller and Diller.
It was called Pushed Out the Door was the working title.
Kevin, you've done a lot of Sandler movies. Which one do people know you from the most, do you think?
Mostly Happy Gilmore. And Grandma's Boy, even though he wasn't in that one.
What was the one where you had, was it Just Go With It? You had plastic surgery. It looked hilarious. Yeah. That was pretty fun. Was that a lot of makeup?
It was 4 hours in the makeup chair, and they only used one day. I did like 3 or 4 days of sitting in that chair, but they only used one day of my shooting. But the most fun I had was doing Blended, where we shot in South Africa.
Oh yeah, I saw
for
that.
2 months. So we went on safaris and everything. It was cool. Yeah, I've done like 13 Sandler films.
Seriously? 13. So you've done 10% of his films. Every time I'm in a Sandler movie, it's a terrible, terrible bomb. I was in Little Nicky. And then I was in Jack and Jill. Those are the only, so I should never be in another Sandler film. Both very funny. Adam doing his thing, but
I'm from the South, the deep South. Kevin, I have a question for you. Oh, first of all, back to I got two, but bathroom attendant. I was there for. I thought that was one of that sketch was fucking killed if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was with Harvey Keitel. That's one of my favorite sketches I wrote on that show. And, there's a thing I have about bathroom attendants. It just seems so unnecessary, to have a bathroom attendant to dry your hands and to, give you, and then have candy on the counter. Because, once you go to the bathroom, you immediately want to refill your supply,
I always give him $10 and go, if anyone asks, I wash my hands. And he's like,
so I've always kind of had that little, thing about bathroom attendants. So I finally wrote up this sketch about a bathroom attendant in a very small bathroom with just one toilet.
That was the tiniest
I remember
set
that.
too. That was funny.
Yeah.
And Keitel was great. That was good. It was
funny.
perfect.
Yeah.
And he was into it. He fucking loved it.
Yeah, he did. And then Farley comes in at the end, like he's my regular customer.
Oh, what a great way to get out. Yeah.
Who helped me with that was Mike Shoemaker. Who was one of the associate producers at the time, or at the time, I think it was maybe just, I don't know, a PA or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, he kind of had a lot of good little ideas for it.
Yeah, he still works at Seth. He has a big job over there. And it says you went to Sacred Heart. These are my two last things. You went to Sacred Heart, and I don't really care about that, but you Sacred Heart as comedians, because we're all like in the comedy biz. That was one where I was doing gigs, on weekends at SNL. I went from getting $3,000 a night. I think I maybe got up to $5,000 a night. But they go, take a car. I think that's drivable, right, Kevin? Is that far drivable?
Yeah, it's like an hour and 15 from New York.
So they go, do 45 to an hour, right? Which was kind of a tough swing because I was not really even a headliner when I got hired. I was pretty solid middle, but, sometimes they make a middle do 35. I go, get fucked. I would do 25 maybe. But anyway, so I do, I go to headline. I've got about 50, 55 and I'm like, shit, this is going to be tough, but I got to do it because I'm getting the dinero. So I go all the way there. Yeah. So I go to Sacred Heart. I remember this name and they're all sitting on like a fireplace or something. And schools are great. They have extra money. They hire you to come in. But I haven't really caught fire or anything. I'm just like a comedian. They don't really know me. So I'm just like, I go and they're all like sitting cross-legged on the floor. I think I remember this right. Maybe 200 kids. So you guys all been here. So I'm doing my fucking act. It's bombing ferociously and I'm buzzing through it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not doing well and I know they don't want me there, but I'm like, blah, blah. And this is my big lesson in comedy. So I do it and I buzz through everything, but I did 43 and all I had to do was go like, hey, where's this guy from? Not even a closer, just some conversation and then get off. But I leave and the guy goes, up. He wouldn't pay me. He goes, you did 43. You're supposed to do 45. And I go, and he had me. That's a contract thing because you can't say you bombed because that's subjective, but you can say you didn't fulfill your contract. So I left without a check. And then Gervitz called him and yelled at him and they finally paid me.
The funny part
That's the thing, man.
Go ahead.
When you go somewhere, if you're traveling far, you want to come home with a check. One time I worked with Bill Maher and Tommy Davidson up in Rochester or Buffalo, New York. And we had to fly from New York in I did on a little prop plane. Yeah. I got there and I got really sick before the show. I had some kind of a stomach bug. And I only felt good if I laid on a cot backstage. And Bill Maher did his set, Tommy Davidson did his set, and I didn't want to go home without getting paid. So I asked the stage manager if he would put the cot out on the stage and I could lay on the cot and do my act from the cot on my side. And that's what I did. I did it. And I told the people I was depressed. I said, I'm just so depressed. I got to lay down. I did that. And they were dying. They were loving it. And occasionally I tried to get up and do my act. And I felt bad again, like I was going to throw up. So I had to lay. I said, I'm depressed again. I got to lay down. So well that I started taking that cot with me to gigs.
How was your new one?
It never worked as well as that when it was real.
I once had one where I was chewing gum for some silly reason. Never chew gum before you do stand-up. And now please welcome Packed House. And then I bit my tongue. And it was bleeding the whole set. I was just swallowing blood and trying to smile. My teeth were kind of smeared with blood.
Sickening. Kip Adada pooped his pants. You ever hear that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was famous. A lot of comedians shit their pants.
Poor Kip Adada. That's all we remember his whole act. Pooped his pants.
Did you ever have a thing where you hadn't done stand-up in a while, but you're on Saturday Night Live, and then they're paying you a lot of money, and you do what you think is your whole hour, but it's like 32 minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Because you're just so out of shape. You go so fast, and you're just like, oh, my God. That's why I always had the guitar, so I could just goof around on that.
And you forget chunks. I remember doing my act after I haven't done it for a while, and I'm like, that used to kill. And someone goes, you didn't even do the middle of it. And I go, huh? Because you forget. You're like, how does this track? And that's why it's almost like a play where you have to, every line is important if it's well written. You know, every line makes sense, and it's economized to where you have to do it a certain way. You can kind of riff off that, but you have to get the basics down. And if you don't lay the groundwork, one joke was so stupid. I think I was saying there was no traffic today, but everything was based on there was traffic. And so I just said one word wrong, and then nothing worked. And then later someone goes, you said the opposite. I go, I did? And then it makes sense. You go, oh, it's, you can't figure it out.
Who's critiquing you always afterward? They're just
there's always someone there, the court stenographer going, well, tonight, I know you thought you did well.
A lot of that has to do with nerves too. Like when you're starting out, you kind of do that, you forget stuff. That's why I love doing the warm-ups on SNL, because it took some of the stress away from me and anxiety, because I was already like, I met the audience and they've seen me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not coming out kind of like, all brand new and,
Oh, I had to do that sometimes. I think, I don't know if I was assigned it from you, but after you, but it was hard because Marcy's like, get out there. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm getting ready for a sketch. So I got to go up and do like 5 or 10 minutes because we were new. So she would always like rough us up. Get out there. Lauren's mad at you, and then walk away. I go, what?
Lauren's always mad.
I know, Lauren. It's the easiest thing. What about when Lauren would walk around the set with his Amstel Light and a glass, and he'd just walk around in between, like during a commercial, and you're like, get out of here, like, because it's too nerve-wracking already. And
I know. Like, and he'd say stuff.
Maybe kill.
We were doing something with Danny DeVito. I can't remember. I think Kevin was in it. And Lauren, during the commercial break, goes, this has to breathe. It was just kind of those sort of notes.
Whatever that means.
And he always would say, this is just Lauren's sense of humor. You'd walk down the hallway and he'd say, still with the show was another one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I thought it was funny.
I would try to huddle up with him by the monitor. Hey, Lauren, what's up? Sometimes they go, Lauren wants to talk to you right after Gap Girls. And I'd be summoned to the monitor, during the commercial. And it's really loud. They're playing the band. He's like, I think the ending, you could do this. He's like, that's how it works. They give notes and they do it right there while it's fresh in his brain. And then you have to go wait to see if it even gets picked for air. That was dress rehearsal, I should clarify. And then you've got your notes going, I know what to do if it stays in the show.
Yeah.
You change, you tighten it and you go, hey, I made it shorter, like selling it, like it won't take up much room. So you can still put it on, and then.
You guys ever visit? You ever go up there and visit?
I've just been there. If I did Fallon, then usually I'd see Lauren and then maybe do something on the show. But yeah, I used to go up there. I used to go up there to visit, say hi to Lauren if I was playing at Caroline's or something. Yeah.
But the last few times I went, it was really difficult because Lauren was so busy because there was other people that were visiting him, like Paul Rudd and Tom Hanks, and they're all around the monitor. And it's like you don't even exist, Yeah.
A lot of people go around that monitor. I went in and did a church lady on Update. This was pre-pandemic. And then I walked around the monitor and I saw two people going, wow, that was awesome, clapping. And I just kept walking and they go, hey, that was Jay-Z and Beyonce. Oh, okay.
Well, Will Forte summed it up. He goes, you never feel less needed when you go back to SNL now. It's like you're almost invisible.
You're of no use anymore. I remember when I finished my high school track career and the coach was so indifferent toward me. I did my last race and I kind of wanted to talk about the experience. I go, see you later. Yeah. You're just sort of done. And
you've been squeezed dry.
I've had cast members email me who've left, like Fred Armisen, basically saying, well, how do I deal with this? The emotional hangover of it, and then watching and seeing people doing your job. And in some cases doing it a lot better.
Without a beat,
you never totally get over doing that show. Nobody does. On some level, you either have a dream about it or think about it. It's too intense. Don't you guys think? I mean, it's always somewhere.
When I left that show, I couldn't imagine something superseding that as far as being notable. I always wondered, I wonder if I'll ever do anything that's kind of as notable as that show was.
And live and weird. And
I mean, doing a movie and then it waits a year to come out. It takes 6 months to get it together. Then you shoot it and everyone's like, where have you been? One guy,
for me, Weeds came along and that was something that people really liked. And it was a different kind of a feeling than SNL, but it was fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
And it was a very acclaimed show.
This Uber driver goes, hey, it's like about a year or two ago. He goes, this is how bad showbiz is. He goes, hey, what about that guy, Chris Pratt? You never see him anymore. What happened to him? I go, Chris Pratt? I think he was in Jurassic World and that other one with the fucking raccoon. Those are two of the biggest movies in history. He's like, yeah, but what else? He hasn't been anything lately. I go, it was this year. I go, what the fuck have I done? Jesus. He's like, yeah, we haven't done shit. But people, if they didn't see your movie you did once, you did one movie, like I did Wrong Missy. Then if they miss that, then it's such a chunk of movies they haven't seen. Like it's such a gap because it takes a year to get it together. Then you shoot it. Then it waits to come out. Then you try to get another one. So everyone's always like, well, you got any movies coming out? It's like the most question I get asked the most. And then if you tell them, they go, oh yeah? What else?
Well, no one knows what anyone's doing. You can make stuff up. I was doing that with Mark Pitta would open for me, the comedian Mark Pitta in Vegas. This was even like 8 years ago. And we would make up. He had just starred in the sort of the Blackjack Network. He starred in I've Had Just About Enough of You. And he'd get a big applause like he's a star. Nobody knows what anyone's doing. No one sees anything.
They just want to... I just want to drop things in deadline that I'm starting and then never do them. Just have people go, hey, I heard you got a lot of shit going on.
Spade, you should ask that Uber driver, where have you been driving lately? I haven't seen you driving anywhere.
No, I've been all over.
They never get that. I always like when you're jealous, like if your wife sees someone on TV, that guy's really handsome or whatever, or it's Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt or something. The kind of thing you would say is like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Or like a great comic, like any great comedian. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't really get it. But what are you going to do?
You know what? That stuff works. And you go, and they're like, what do you mean that stuff? No, that kind of comedy, that'll always work.
Comedy's very subjective,
I had the stagehand in the wings right before I went out. Hey, Mr. Carvey, last week we had Sinbad. Let me tell you something. That guy killed harder than any fucking comedian. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand, and he was doing all these jokes about local establishments and highways, and they went fucking nuts. Don't you love to hear that right before you go out?
Yeah, right. I actually followed Sinbad, and I couldn't. He killed so hard. And I was like, I'll just kind of beep bop up there. And I was like, I was starting to get nervous going, oh, he's really killing, because it was a corporate gig, and he knew everything about the corporation. He's like, according to Section 42, and everyone's like, "Wah!" I go, God damn.
But Spade, what has he done lately? I haven't seen him around. You know what I mean? What's he been doing? You know, he's just kind of disappeared. You know,
he goes, you know, when you wear your underpants so much.
On the Guys and Dolls Network. The Guys and Dolls Network. He's huge. He's a prime time.
Actually, Dennis goes, I did Star Search. I'm up against Sinbad. I'm doing my best fucking joke. Sinbad walks up after me and goes, you ever wear your underpants so many times it's just a rubber band? 4 stars.
Sometimes I watch movies with my son.
It's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's 14.
He's like, Spade, I wasn't sure if you were talking to me or if you had an indigestion right there.
I'm just talking to off camera to people.
Oh,
go ahead.
Well, sometimes I'll watch movies with my son. He's 14. And we'll be watching a movie and he'll go, is that guy still alive?
Huh.
Is that actor still alive? I go, yeah, that's Sandler. That's Adam Sandler. And then he goes, what about that guy next to him? I said, that's me. That's me. I'm still alive.
So, Kevin, I asked David this a couple weeks ago, and I said, when you're watching TV and you're kind of bored, do you ever check the age of the actor and their net worth? And he doesn't. Have you ever checked the age of the actor or the net worth while you're watching a show?
I check the age sometimes, but like the last person I did that to was, what's his name? The guy from Jaws, the older
Robert Shaw.
Yeah, Robert Shaw. Because I remember as a kid watching that movie, he looked so old. And then I checked his age. He was like 46 or something like that.
Yeah, that's
in that movie.
Or 45. Yeah.
Wow.
And he died.
Yeah.
He died in Ireland. He was driving with his wife and kid, and he didn't feel good. He got out of the car and he had a heart attack on the street at 47.
Whoa!
Well, should we end on that?
But so I checked his age when he did Jaws. You know,
pull it on the side of the road and pull me over and do me CPR.
Jaws, what a great.
You'll be a person on me cavity. Kevin Nealon.
I checked the age of the Disney kids when they're doing the movies. I said, how old is that kid making all that money?
I looked.
Do you know how old Nemo was? Nemo was just a child actor.
Yeah, he was, and then he. But you know what? There's a lot of fish in the sea.
Dory was. I don't know. Forget it. This bit's bombing. Anyway, Kevin, I got to jump off.
Kevin,
you and Danny can go on for a couple.
We've tortured you.
We got a million things going.
We've tortured you enough.
It's going to take a long time to unpack this show and figure out what happened.
Yeah, we got to edit this down.
We can edit that shit out of this, man. I had
like 5 minutes. Is it a 5-minute show?
Kevin, we're going to get you a copy of this.
Hang on a second, guys. What is it, Marcy? Marcy says I need to do warm-ups for the show.
You got to get going and do warm-ups?
Yeah,
Lauren wants you. Lauren's
we are going to have Marcy Klein as a guest on this show because she is the linchpin of a lot of the era of Saturday Night Live.
She knows stories.
She was the mother, the dog. She was everything. She was behind the scenes, above the scenes. So yeah, she's got a lot of great stories.
All right, Kevin. Thanks, buddy. Good talking.
Wait a minute. I got a great story for you guys.
Oh boy. Go ahead. Oh, he hung up.
Okay, that was the hook.
Good
that's
one.
a funny. Yeah. That's funny shtick.
Hey, what's up, flies? What's up, fleas? What's up, people that listen? We want to hear from you and your dumb questions.
Questions. Ask us anything. Anything you want.
You can email us at flyonthewall@cadence13.com. Hey, everybody. Spade here. I apologize for looking badass. I just threw this coat on because it was 95 today. And I want to look cool. But listen, I get a lot of questions. Dana and I both do. I'll answer this one. Norm Macdonald, obviously big in the folklore of SNL and how great he was and blah, blah, blah. We all know about Norm. And a lot of the questions are any Norm Macdonald stories. Obviously, we have hundreds. One of the ones I like is when we would text, he's like a child, he's nothing normal about him. So it's infuriating. And he would text in the middle of nowhere. He was a big time canceller of plans. One of the all time greats. and also with the shenanigans you have to put up with. So let's say he texts me, David, what are you doing? And then I answer, I go, oh, hey, Norm, what's going on? And then he waits about 2 weeks. Then he goes, hello? David, don't you like me anymore? And I go, Norm, I did answer you. What do you need? Do you want to meet up? Do you want to go eat? And then about 4 a.m, David, why do you hate me? And then it would go into this one. Do you like money? And I go, yes. David, would you like to win money beyond your wildest dreams? No, he didn't say win. He goes, would you want more money than you could ever count? And I go, of course I would. And then like 4 days later, David, are you still thinking about the money? And I go, I am. And he goes, if you really like it, I'll tell you how you can get it. And I go, please. And then about 3 days later, he says, bet the under on the Chicago Blackhawks in the first period. First of all, how much am I betting where I'm going to win money beyond my wildest dreams? Do I have to bet $1 trillion? I said, I'll put a nickel on it. It sounds like gambling talk. I don't even know what it means. But that he would do that and then he'd pee in a bottle. But Norm was, there's too many Norm stories that are too funny. But he's always like this. He's very stiff. Ah! You ask him any normal question, he answers it like it's crazy. Me and him and Dennis Miller did a gig right before the Corona. All of us 3 crazy people. And he goes, David, when's the show? I go, 8. He goes, what? I go, Norm, there isn't a more typical showtime in the world than 8. If it was 7:45, you could say that. If it was 8:01, you could say that. You can't say it at 8. And then if you tell him any real news, like, oh my God, Russia just invaded LA, he goes, oh yeah, when? That doesn't shock you? They invaded LA? They dropped a bomb in LA today? You're supposed to go, what? That's when you say, what? He's got it all mixed up. Anyway, Norm's great. We do miss him. Thank you for the question. This has been a podcast presentation of Cadence 13. Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes. Available now for free wherever you get your podcast.
No joke, folks. Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13. Executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment.
The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman with production and engineering support from Serena Regan and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.